Welcome. Welcome to actually what is the first national webinar of this new year. My name is Ed Harper. I'm the Executive Director of NCCET. And welcome to what I believe to be the first of many programs with our new partner, the Association for Supply Chain Management and Holmes Corporation. We're going to take this opportunity to share some insight and some of the services and programs and partnering possibilities available to us now from ASCM, and do it as a prelude to the program that will be available at our national conference in Austin, Texas. So we're excited about this. We're excited about the new partner. I'm going to turn this over to Mark Emfeld. Mark is the Director of Strategic Partner Development at ASCM. He will then introduce his team, and they will share with you some of the things that you need to know and some of the things that are going to be accessible to you now through this relationship. You will be able to ask any questions that you may have. You can use the Q&A box that's built into the Zoom session, and we will save time toward the end to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. I would encourage our team to also keep track of the questions as they come in. If in fact there's a question that you would like to answer in real time right then and there, by all means do so. We can be as flexible as we need to be to make sure that our attendees get something valuable from this investment of time today. Okay, so Mark, I turn it over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Ed.
I'll be here throughout, even though I'm not going to stay on camera the whole time.
Sounds good, Ed. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for the warm introduction, and we're very excited to be here today speaking to the NCCET community. And as you called out, Ed, we're very excited to be in person next month down in Austin. So definitely looking forward to meeting everyone and engaging, networking, and getting to know the community even better. So as you mentioned, my name is Mark Emfeld, Director of Strategic Partner Development. I am also here with Andy Voigt from the Holmes Corp, who will be introducing himself shortly in a second here, as well as John Freeze from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, who will be speaking about some additional items as well. So we will be your MCs for today, so to speak. As Ed said, we also have some time carved out at the end for any questions or anything that comes up organically. So definitely looking forward to our time today. So from an agenda standpoint, everyone, we're going to be talking about growth opportunities within the supply chain space, as well as some career pathway options for a partnership with ASCM. Some regional market analysis data readouts, which is highly impactful to our academic partner community. As mentioned as well, we'll be hearing from John around the University of Tennessee and how we work together currently as an active partner within our network. And then we'll unpack a little bit about engagement beyond continuing education. So we have a few different engagements with 4 credit alignments from our solutions in that sector on campus, corporate business hubs, and then some workforce development efforts as well that have been happening over the past 18 months, given our problems with coronavirus and some of the disruptions that we've seen across the country. Andy will speak a little bit about our programs, revenues, and enrollments, and how we can assist with campus there, and then follow up and finish with a little bit around conference, what you can expect from us, and hopefully some more specific and dynamic engagements one-on-one that we can prep for ahead of our time together in February. So that's a bit of our agenda today. So from introduction standpoint, ASCM, we are the Association for Supply Chain Management. We are a global leader in supply chain organizational transformation, innovation, and leadership across the globe. We're the world's largest nonprofit supply chain association, as well as the oldest. So we are an unbiased partner connecting companies around the world. And really what that means is we become the voice of record across all things supply chain. We are built on the foundation of 60 years of APIC's history. We initially were created through a grant from IBM so that folks across their entire manufacturing sector would be able to speak the same language, learn the same terms, use the same cadences. And that's really how we started over 60 years ago. Our world-class APICS certification really is the bedrock of our organization. This is using up professionals across the world, approximately 250,000 certificates across the globe. We operate in well over 100 countries. And really, again, our largest differentiator is our network of global alliances and thought leadership collaborations, which obviously includes the academic network as well. So we have our for-profit partners, we have our chapter network, our academic network, as well as our international partners, consulting firms, and we'll unpack a little bit of that as well downstream. We currently have approximately 45,000 professional members. Those are individual folks who engage with us, around 2,000 active volunteers across the globe, 75 direct corporate memberships, and we operate in well over 100 countries. And now over to Andy for a little bit about HomesCorp.
Great, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so quick introduction of myself and Holmes Corporation and who we represent. My name is Andy Voigt. I'm the manager of global and corporate partners for Holmes Corporation. Holmes is an instructional design, marketing, and distribution firm. We specialize in creating premium quality learning systems for professionals who are pursuing any number of globally recognized certifications and credentials. We partner with a number of industry recognized associations, in this case ASCM, in the development, distribution, and support of these prep course materials for their certifications. So as part of those partnerships, we work with over 300 colleges and universities, as well as those other training providers Mark mentioned, reaching about 1.5 million professionals across the world. To give you a quick perspective of some of the global partners we work with outside of our relationship with ASCM, we touch a number of different markets from HR and payroll with the Society for Human Resource Management, as well as both the American and Canadian payroll associations, and the financial market working with the Institute of Internal Auditors. Here in operations, obviously APICS and ASCM in the supply chain and logistics, as well as the Professional Facility Management Institute and the Pro FMI certification. And finally, in the project management space there with the PMP certification and our CertWise product in that space. So as you can see, we're partnering with the top associations and the thought leaders in each of these spaces to develop these world-class cert prep materials.
Great, thanks, Andy. Yeah, and definitely HomesCorp being a fantastic partner of ours as well. So thank you for your support today, Andy, as well, across all things our academic channel. So thank you very much. So everyone, I don't have to really double click on this topic, but we've seen quite a bit of disruption within the supply chain over the past 18 months, both from the boardroom all the way down to the kitchen table. Took a quick snapshot of just some of the top Google News items that again populate our morning news feeds each day, and just some of the disruption that we're seeing across the globe. Whether it's cargo ships stuck in a canal over in Egypt, if it's the Port of Long Beach being backed up, if it's rail yards that can't unpack their intermodal containers because of workforce shortages, really we're seeing a huge disruption within supply chain. And at the very heart of this, we see two key drivers there. Number one, a move from just in time to just in case inventory, as well as some federal legislation that is driving repatriating of the American manufacturing sector. We are tracking numerous pieces of that legislation through Washington, as well as some of our partners. And what is coming is the biggest disruption to American manufacturing since the fall of the Soviet Union and the wall came down, so to speak, where there is now a strategic perspective across many industry verticals that we need to repatriate much of our manufacturing capability. And what that really comes down to is supply chain management, from raw materials all the way through that final mile of delivery, and who are the people, professionals, and skilled employees to really be able to support that change. So it's something that we're really seeing come across on the horizon very, very quickly, as a matter of fact. One of the key highlights, that we were able to, grabbed for this discussion today was a piece of research coming out of Burning Glass. And this is, ASCM nor Holmes Corp had any, impact in the actual research here. This is something that we consume just like anyone else. But the baseline projection for the logistics economy, as it's called, will be an additional 5.9 million careers established over the next 5 years. And that is on top of what we hear from our partners as only 1 in 5 qualified folks for the open positions that we have today. So there is a major workforce gap here. And what we're really looking to expand is into the college and university sector to support these efforts, whether it's upskilling, reskilling, retooling, or just massive investments within American workforces around the logistics economy. One of the challenges that we see is there's not exactly, and you'll see this in a moment, there's not exactly a job title called supply chain. The titles in this logistics economy and the supply chain career path are quite immense. So this is really a high level look at what the opportunities are ahead as far as folks coming into this career path. And we're looking to partner with obviously all of you to be able to help backfill the folks into these careers. So Andy, maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about what the individuals can expect and some of the outputs there for folks engaging with our certifications.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, lots of jobs available out there, and that's going to continue to be the case. And that's really where us, and when I say us, I'm referring to ASCM and Holmes Corporation here, and what a partnership offers to our collegiate and university partners. Really at the heart of it is helping you expand your course offerings to this community and to this growing community to help fill that gap. And these educational solutions range very broadly in scope, everything from entry level kind of general education on supply chain related topics, all the way up to some of our higher level certifications and executive training options. All of this backed by ASCM's decades of industry knowledge and experience that Mark talked about earlier. These jobs are in demand. Supply chain and logistics careers are in demand. They're in demand now, and that's not going to be going anywhere in the next 3, 4, 5 years. The disruption to the economy over the last 2 years has really shaken everything up, as Mark alluded to there, and the job market reflects that. I'll talk a little bit more in the next slide about some of the salary data and how that's helping as part of this lifting up individuals. But the number showing you there in that 50th percentile is a great starter as well. These are family sustaining wages. These are not what most people might think of in a manufacturing environment as entry level or hourly blue collar type jobs and those type of wages. These are family sustaining wages and can be life changing for individuals and for families. Finally, as to how this relates to our partners and how these partnerships works, and in conjunction with lifting up these individuals is flexibility. And that's flexibility in course types. Our partnership allows for all kinds of available opportunities, whether it's public cohorts for individuals who are looking to upskill themselves and further their education, or corporate engagements, as John, I think we'll talk to you a little bit later here, but for larger groups who are looking to upskill their current workforce in that regard too. So lots of flexibility in that manner, but also flexibility in delivery method. Pre-pandemic, we were seeing a high majority of our classes being in person, but over the last 2 years, many have kind of taken that pivot to the online or hybrid options. So that's kind of continuing to be in flux, but all those options are there. The flexibility is there for you to offer whatever solution makes most sense for you. All right, so I mentioned a little bit there, some of the salary information here, but want to dive a little bit deeper into that and show you guys some more numbers that always make me kind of say, wow, the first time I see them. This information all comes from the ASCM supply chain salary survey, I think came out in 2021. So very relevant and recent data here, but that survey gathers information around starting wages, benefits that are available, demographic breakdowns, common job titles. It's really a great kind of primer and head start for identifying, who this market is, who these potential students could be, and what the value to them is going to be. We're happy to share this with you. So if you'd like to see more on the salary survey, reach out to myself or Mark, and we'll make sure to get that to you there. I shared some of the numbers around that 50th percentile group. But the number that really pops out there in green to me is that 27% number. As you can see, we've got the 4 different colors on those charts there that represents a non-certified individual, and then individuals in each of the 3 larger certifications that ASCM and Holmes Corporation offer. And it's 27% higher salary for those who hold one of those certifications. That's the value. It's that easy to quantify. I think if you told most of us that we can get a 27% raise in our job by taking one, 3 to 6 month or potentially 1 year class, most of us would jump at that. So, the value is there. It's that easy to quantify. These certified individuals are earning more, and it's a super attractive proposition to anyone.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. And that salary survey, folks, we run that every single year. So this is a very dynamic salary survey with a lot of great information. Like Andy said, some demographic information, job titles, some of the educational perspectives of the folks that have taken in this. So it's just some great information. So we're thrilled to send that out for some further, taking a look at that and just let us know. So thanks, Andy. And really, we want to, and we do, our solution set really does represent a lifelong home for learning within the folks' supply chain career. So from the entry level, we have solutions like the Essentials of Supply Chain Management and our Principles on Demand, really at that starting point for folks that are either trying to come into this position and career pathway. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, we have been inundated with workforce development. And when I say workforce development, I'm referring to publicly funded opportunities. At the state level, at the federal level, there's some regional opportunities that we've engaged with. And really, it's been the double click and the engagement from those publicly funded entities saying, we obviously see a gap here with respect to the folks in these positions. How do we work with an organization like ASCM, and how do we scale it? And the answer is obviously through the college and the university sector. So, and obviously, John, we've had a few engagements there, as well as some other folks that will be joining us, live in Austin next month. So really, the entry level are those 2 solutions. And then as we engage across accelerating professionals, we see our certificate program. So our procurement and warehouse certificate really are that mid-level folks that are accelerating through their career path. We are also, ASCM will also be releasing 4 additional certificate programs in 2022 because the amount of need and just frankly, the market is hungry for these alternative credentials for sure within that space. And then finally, our established professionals are our CPIM certification, our CSCP, CLTD, and then finally our SCORE endorsement. And that really is, that manager level, the full professional that are engaging with their careers. And that's all to say that we really meet the participants where they are, wherever that happens to be within that career pathway, from entry level all the way through the C-suite with respects to the certifications. Similarly, we see a lot of aspirational employees. Like Andy said, our data show 27% additional funds as far as, raises, promotions. So there is a huge amount of upward projection as far as, how folks can accelerate through that career pathway for sure. During the introduction, we talked about some of the corporations in our global footprint. So, we have numerous industry verticals. Certainly not going to call out every single one of the companies on this list here, but from technology, collaborators, through consumer goods, traditional manufacturing, and really cutting edge aerospace and automotive folks. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the companies that consult directly with us, not only on very large supply chain projects, but also that very specific training within their workforce and the people that they definitely support within their organization, new hires, et cetera. So just a quick snapshot there of some of the companies that we partner with. Which leads a bit into what we consider to be internally, we call this a workforce development heat map. So it's a bit of a eye chart here, folks, but really what we do is when we have an academic partner, whether it's a new partner or someone that's really looking to engage with workforce development activities, our research team, as well as the research team at Holmes, really rolls up our sleeves and gets to work. So this particular snapshot is from earlier this year, I should say last year now. We've clicked over into January for the state of California. So what we see here are the top 4 regions with respect to supply chain impact. We take an established list of 6, the most common titles, again, not just supply chain jobs, but specific 6 supply chain titles, and do a search of open positions within that region. So you'll see those numbers there. No real, I would say, surprise that Los Angeles is definitely the largest within the state of California. And then we overlay that with our corporate partners. So we go out into that particular region and address the corporations that are engaging with us directly, and also start to tap into those folks to say, if we were to run a workforce development program, whether that's a full certification, it's a certificate program, or one of those entry-level positions, who would be interested in hiring some of the folks that come out of those programs. And then the next column there, folks, is our current volunteer footprint as far as instructor base, board members of those local chapters or forums. And that's really who we leverage within, and kind of boots on the ground kind of a phrase there to say, who do we partner with to make sure that the students are being well supported? Do they have that chapter of support as they transition into a new career and new job opportunities? And then finally, also, we paint a bit of a picture of the market, the available market for you with respect to the certified professionals. So we work closely with Holmes on this number, where we take established SOC codes, overlay that into the Department of Labor's major statistical areas, and then we align those job outcomes with how the certifications actually address those. So again, within Los Angeles, there's a total of 368,000 folks who are currently employed in this area, that qualify for our certifications and could have some additional lift there. So just a quick snapshot, and pause here for a split second before I kick it over to John. This really is what we're excited about heading into Austin. So we'd like to invite everyone on this call to reach out to either Andy or myself, and we can schedule some time and do one of these evaluations, for your region and how you can impact your community with respect to upcoming workforce development efforts, active classes, and some of the corporations that may need some assistance. So that's a bit of our market heat map. So without further ado, I would like to introduce John Fries from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. John, I'll let you go through a little bit of obviously your title and how you impact good folks down at UTC. And I'll kick it to you for a couple of slides, John.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Andy. I'll say this to get started. Anytime Holmes Corp or ASM call, I always try to answer that phone, because these guys really do an awful lot to support the work that we do here at UTC. We are also a Holmes Corp partner with SHRM as well. And I can say this, they are fantastic. And then ASCM, you guys just bring such value to the work that we do to support our local industry partners. So I'm always happy to be a part of this. As Mark said, my name is John Fries. I get the pleasure of serving as the director of the Center for Professional Education at UTC. Since you guys are in academia, I will give you an idea of how we are positioned at the university. So I report directly to our provost. I don't have quite the same level of clout as a dean would, but I do have that same level of pretty high level reporting structure. Coincidentally, our chancellor is also a supply chain guy by training, and so he loves that we are engaging in this supply chain certification type of programming. All right, so let's kick off and talk a little bit about the reason why these programs are so valuable to us. As Mark mentioned earlier, the product lines, whether it's CLTD, CPIM, CSCP, it really is world-class curriculum. We launched a CLTD class last night, and we talked a lot about with that group the quality of the material that they've got in front of them, from the books that they're going to be reading to the learning system that they're going to be engaging with. It really is just top notch, and it's laid out well, very, very well. The instructor development component of this, I think one of the things that we find to be extremely beneficial in this relationship is we have a great deal of autonomy and control over who we use to teach the programs. Now, they do have to go through the instructor development program that ASCM offers, but that's not a bad thing. That's actually probably a good thing. But we like the flexibility of the instructor, and that kind of leads to the flexibility of delivery models. I will say this, We've got a CPIM class that starts next Tuesday, and that class has 19 people enrolled in it. The flexibility of being able to offer that class in a virtual online environment is the only thing that's allowing that class to run. If I was depending solely on folks in Chattanooga, we would cancel it. I just don't have enough. But the ability to branch out and recruit folks from various states around Tennessee and then across our region, really across the Eastern Seaboard, gives us a lot of flexibility to keep our product line rolling off the belt, if you will. And then the reseller business model, for any of you that work at state institutions of higher education, you will appreciate what I'm about to say. It is very challenging for us to enter into relationships that are prepaid, contractual, and that have some sort of revenue sharing obligation. So we really appreciate the fact that ASCM looks at the relationship with their education partners as a reseller. They tell us how much the material is going to cost. We know how much that's going to cost. We build that into our program budgets, and it's just a very, very smooth transaction for us. And then the other thing I think is that ASCM thankfully does not impose any sort of class size minimums. They don't set any sort of revenue expectations for the year. And they recognize that, especially in cases like my office, we are completely self-sustained. We get no state appropriation. And so I think having a partner like ASCM that recognizes their business model helps us survive and sustain is really quite remarkable. I know I'm preaching to the choir. That's not the case with every vendor that's out there. That's for sure. So we really appreciate that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how these programs allow us to engage in corporate outreach. There's a beautiful picture of the city of Chattanooga nestled along the Tennessee River below Lookout Mountain. If you've never been here, I would invite you to come. Please visit with us. It's a beautiful place. I oftentimes start with these types of talks saying that long before Glenn Miller made Chattanooga famous, Chattanooga was a transportation hub in its own right. Today, and I say that even before the Civil War, railroads were big in Chattanooga, and it was the gateway to the South. It's if you're a Civil War buff, it's the reason why the Union fought so very hard to control Chattanooga throughout the war. We are geographically positioned a one-day truck drive to roughly 1/3 of the United States population. So if you've ever been here before, you've probably spent some time on our interstate system behind many 18-wheelers. I've seen stats that show that 80% of the Eastern Seaboard freight comes through Chattanooga. And every afternoon when I drive home, I believe it. There are more than 200 manufacturers in Chattanooga and our surrounding region. I made a note of some of the partners that Mark had on the slide before. Shaw Industries, which is one of the world's largest carpet and flooring manufacturers, is located just 30 miles south of here in Calhoun, Georgia. We have a BASF plant here, as well as an Eaton plant. So I was actually kind of surprised to see that several of the corporate ASCM members we have a relationship with right here in our backyard, and all of those companies I just mentioned participate in our programs. We are also home to Volkswagen North America's production headquarters. A little bit of historical trivia. That site is on what used to be the volunteer ammunition plant, which was in World War II, where most of the TNT was made. And now it's home to Volkswagen's North American production headquarters. So just a little bit of irony and trivia. That's the historian in me coming out. There are many trucking companies. In fact, I tried to count the other day how many trucking companies there are in Chattanooga, and I didn't have enough fingers. So I finally was like, okay, I'm going to go with the two big names that most people have probably seen these trucks rolling down the highway, US Express and Covenant Transportation. I am pretty sure if you've driven on the interstate sometime in the last week or two, you have seen one of these two trucks, because they are everywhere. And they are big supporters of what we do. And then logistics service providers and 3PLs, again, they're probably closer to 30, maybe 35 3PLs in Chattanooga. It's hard to define them sometimes, but they are everywhere. In fact, there's a company here right now that is going through such growth. It's a company called Steam Logistics. They've hired over 400 people in the last year, and they plan to hire 500 in 2022. The amount of growth that this industry is seeing is really phenomenal. So anyway, so our ability to engage with these types of organizations through the product line that ASCM offers is absolutely invaluable. And I will provide this as an aside. I met with our new vice chancellor for development yesterday, and she's new in her role and she's learning about what we do. And she said, gosh, John, she said, there's so much opportunity to engage with our local business community to support the work that you guys are doing and the work that the university is doing. It really is pretty eye-opening. And so I would say this, not only do these programs create opportunity for your continuing ed units to generate revenue, I would be willing to bet you that they also create opportunity for your development office to start having conversations with their corporate clients or corporate partners in your region. So let's go to the next slide. And we'll talk a little bit about, through that corporate outreach, talked a little bit about why it makes sense to us. I'll just reiterate this. The ASCM brand, the history of the APICS in the industry is really powerful. About 4 years ago, we convened a group of folks to come to a community focus group, and we asked them, and I'm not a supply chain guy. I said, I hear a lot about supply chain, and this was long before the pandemic. And I said, I don't really know what this means, but feels like UTC should be playing some role in this, in our space. UTC does not have a supply chain degree. We don't even have a supply chain minor. But I thought, you know what, maybe there's some way we can address what the industry needs in a much more immediate and tangible way. And so we asked them, what do you guys need? And the first acronym that I learned in supply chain was CPIM. And I will tell you that is the acronym that you all will probably learn too. It is by far, at least in our region, the most popular certification program out there. I'll piggyback on the comment about the salaries earlier. Mark knows this because he sees my post on LinkedIn, but I track locally when a company posts on Indeed when they're searching for one of these certifications. And about once a week, I will get an email saying that somebody's looking for a CPIM. There was a company here, I don't know, probably sometime in 2021, I don't remember how long ago. They were advertising $48 to $52 an hour for somebody with a CPIM certification. I mean, honestly, at that rate, I considered going to take the test myself because that's not a bad salary. I mean, especially for somebody coming into this space to get started. Support from ASCM. I mean, not only do Mark and I look a lot alike, we get along pretty well. He's really pretty supportive. If I send him, I'll go ahead and say it. I sometimes send him some off the wall emails with some goofy questions, and he always responds back and helps me find a path forward. So I appreciate that very much. And while I'm giving plugs, though I don't work with Andy, his counterpart, Michelle Morrison at Holmes, I mean, I can safely say we would not be an ASCM partner if Michelle Holmes and I had not connected and created a relationship with each other probably about 3 years ago, and really helped us chart a pathway through Holmes to become a partner with ASCM. If any of you have a contract or corporate training interest, and you have the fortune of having someone that's doing business development on your teams, I can tell you with high levels of certainty that these classes do have a market as closed enrollment corporate sponsored programs. In fact, we are getting ready to begin having some conversations with some of our local partners here around CLTD courses. And because logistics is just growing so fast, and again, not giving too many trade secrets away, there is a huge need for folks that are going right now, getting hired in as freight brokers, that are working in 3PL types of organizations, that are finding themselves getting promoted and are realizing pretty quick that they may have been good salespeople on a sales floor, but when it comes to leading a team and understanding logistics and how all this works, they don't have the skill set yet. They don't have the knowledge base yet. So that's an area that we're starting to look at. And then scalable engagements, entry-level training into executive training. What we find, and seeing it more and more and more as the Great Resignation continues into 2022, organizations are no longer just in need of the warm bodies on the shop floor. They are also in need of folks to do the high-level strategic thinking work too. And I read an article not too long ago that said that the biggest challenge that the C-suite will face in 2022 is retention and keeping people that are currently feeling extreme burnout engaged and motivated to do their jobs. And I think providing professional development opportunities for those folks and helping them grow and feel supported as a part of the organization will be a key part of organizational retention strategies as we go through 2022. And I say that basing that somewhat on an article I read just last week from a professor that I trust a whole lot in this space at Auburn University, Dr. Brian Gibson. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. This is a space that we have been tracking on for a couple of years in my association with another continuing ed professional association that I won't mention on here. We've been tracking credentialing programs and being embedded in degree programs for quite a while. And it is really, I think, what will redefine and allow higher ed administrators to rethink the value proposition that higher ed brings to their region, their communities, their customers. We have been very fortunate that we've been able to find a way to partner with our Department of Engineering Management Technology to award 3 hours of academic credit for the CLTD program. That's the program that we launched last night. And we have 3 people in that program that are actively pursuing those hours of academic credit. What became a really easy sell, and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, what became a really easy sell was when we engaged the faculty in the College of Engineering and began having this conversation. They were initially a little skeptical because they didn't have control over who wrote the content. They didn't know where it came from. They didn't know what it spoke to. And so, again, the partnership with Holmes was easy. Holmes gave us some review licenses. I sent those over to the department head and their supply chain logistics faculty member. And the next thing I knew, they were like, wow, this is good. Let's do this. And so we were able to get through that hurdle pretty quick. The fact that it's being done through the non-credit division of the university, again, you guys will feel the pain of this. It cut out all of the academic review and all of that sort of stuff that a regular course offering and or degree program would have to go through. So it was pretty turnkey for us once we kind of figured out the model that it works. Again, the way we do it at UTC, it's credit by exam. It goes on their transcript. If they pass the post-test, we don't require them to pass the certification exam. We just require them to pass the post-test that comes with the learning system. And if they do that, they get 3 hours of credit. So we're hoping that this becomes a more important part of our supply chain portfolio. But for those of you that are entrepreneurial, we're also hopeful that this becomes a model for us to engage our other certification programs with other academic partners on campus. So again, hats off to ASCM for sort of supporting us as we've tried to be very entrepreneurial in how we engage our customers. All right, next slide. And I think it's my last one. There we go. As Mark mentioned earlier, I mean, it would be impossible to overstate the amount of conversation right now around workforce development. And I'm sure you all hear it too. I can't go to a meeting now that doesn't in some way center around workforce development. Supply chain is often at the top of the list. And so we've been very fortunate to have a partner such as ASCM that not only recognizes that it's important, they also value that it's important. And they do that by supporting us. I will send Mark an email and say, hey, this is some funding that we may want to go after. Can ASM help us? And the answer is almost always yes. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what we can do to support you. And I think in my mind, what that represents is it's more than a vendor relationship. It is a partnership. ASM recognizes that we have to be able to meet the needs of our local community. And in this case, it's workforce development. And ASM doesn't engage in those conversations with always saying, well, what's in it for us? It's always, what can we do to support each other that grows your product line and supports your local community? So again, I can say it all day. I would highly encourage you guys to reach out to both Mark and Andy and develop a relationship with them. There are so many strategic benefits that having this kind of relationship can really do for your organization. I just can't say that enough. And if you ever want to pick my brain about something, I suppose there's some way that we can get my contact information to you all. So anyway, I think that's all I've got, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you for that.
Thanks so much, John.
Perspective and vote of confidence for sure. And we definitely appreciate the partnership as well. And as a nonprofit membership organization, we really, our mission at a very high level globally is really to support the supply chain career space. So, many of these areas that John mentioned, workforce here, the 4 credit alignment, we're really hand in hand with those efforts, that it's more than, simply a vendor relationship. So we definitely value that as well, John. So thank you. Moving along a little bit, and I think probably double clicking a bit into, what John had mentioned. Obviously within our audience today, continuing education, workforce development is probably really at the highest level of engagement in areas that we can partnership with, open enrollment, public classes, the individual participant engagement, self-funded students, the workforce development through those public entities. But really the business hub and executive education is an area to grow around the business to business development activities. We partner with our academic partners quite often on those outbound, let's call them strategic perspectives, because we recognize that maybe some of the folks on this call, you're not supply chain professionals, John, like you said, a supply chain guy per se, but we want to make sure that we're supporting you with those conversations with the organizations and enterprise within your sector and region. So we're definitely there to support that. Revenue drivers for campus as well. We've also gone as far as partnering with some of our academic partners to deliver some of those credits in, let's call it the opposite direction, where 4 credit engagements bless current certificate and certification holders as they enter into the 4 walls of the university to establish some additional, let's say, marketing horsepower and enrollment horsepower into established programs on campus as well. So like John said, is with the engineering department embedding some of those certifications maybe as a capstone. We have numerous academic partners that are engaging around our certificate program for those 4 credit students as well. So I'd say probably the one piece that kind of floats around all of this is the idea of the micro credential as well. So we do have the opportunity to develop maybe a true piece of intellectual property that combines maybe some native concepts or content from campus and then ours, and we put that together for a unique market addressed opportunity there. So just again, kind of as a recap to what John spoke out with, it's a lot of opportunities ahead for our academic partners. So, and Andy, I'll kick it to you here for the next slide as we start to talk about our programs, revenue, and enrollments here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mark. And again, thank you to John for all the kind words. We appreciate the partnership as much as you do. So again, diving in a little bit more to the heart of what partnership offers, and things that Mark and I see as we're talking to our collegiate partners around the country, kind of identifying 4 obstacles or hurdles that they're seeing. And I won't spend too much time reiterating these because John did a much better job of outlining them than I will ever do. But I will just touch on each of these 4 and kind of how our partnerships align with that and kind of bridging that gap. Number 1 being that program development timeline. Our jobs at Holmes Corporation is developing new programs like this. So we understand better than anybody how long and potentially expensive a new program can be to get off the ground, whether it's finding the subject matter experts to develop the curriculum and everything that comes after that. The word that we like to throw around is turnkey or plug and play kind of programs. These solutions are ready to go, have a proven value over decades, and really take a lot of that heavy lift off of your group and departments. Additionally, the career skills gap. Mark outlined a lot of the corporate customers and contacts that we work with. And what we hear from those folks is a lot of times there is a major skills gap from those who are entering the job market. Sometimes even those who are entering the job market with a degree aren't necessarily prepared with the desired skill set of those fields. So the certifications that we are offering here and all the courses that we're offering are specifically designed to be industry aligned. We work heavily with expert industry practitioners. We run intensive job task analysis for all of our courses, really with the eye on preparing the students and the participants to be ready for that workforce and ready for the jobs that are available to them. Kind of going hand in hand with that program development timeline that I talked about there is the resource investment. And again, John talked about this way better than I could ever do, but really we're offering these turnkey programs that don't have any upfront costs. There's no partnership costs. There's no program maintenance costs. It's a true low risk reseller model that really simplifies things for you, for your school. And again, you fill the seats, you run the class, all you're paying for is the materials that you end up using. Finally, that fourth one there, we look at the individuals who are seeking these in-demand roles. We share the value of these certifications from a dollar and cents perspective from that salary survey. But the other kind of key component to that is the speed of the upskilling into these careers. All the programs that we offer are they're not 4-year programs. They're not a 2-year associate's degree. They are, like we said, industry aligned certifications that quickly upskill these individuals into the needed skills, into the desired skills for the workplace. So, those are kind of the 4 main obstacles that we identify and kind of how we bridge that gap. The last thing I'll point out here is that NCCET certified badge there at the top. As of now, our CPIM Part 1 program is officially NCCET certified, so been reviewed by this group and approved. The other 3 programs from our certification lineup, the CPIM Part 2, CLTD, and CSEP, are all in that process as well, and we expect for those 3 to all have that stamp of approval here shortly as well. So just to kind of wrap up the academic partnerships here, I think it's pretty clear to all of us, whether it was clear before or not, that this is a growing and in-demand industry. The market presents a fantastic opportunity for our partners to not only help fill that gap, to fulfill that kind of mission that we all are going after, but also helping to drive new revenue for continuing education departments, which is obviously an important part of this as well. And the certifications that we're offering are globally recognized, they're industry recognized. As I mentioned in the last slide, they're on their way to being NCCET recognized. So really important and really useful certifications in that as well, that are turnkey, that are plug and play. I know I probably said that word 10 times here over the course of that call, but that's what we do here is make these easy programs for you to get up and off the ground. And the final piece of that, and I can't thank John enough for outlining this and highlighting this for us, but is the support for your campus, and that's support from both of our organizations, our team at Holmes Corporation. I know John mentioned my colleague Michelle, who is the best in the business at supporting our partners, but also ASCM, Mark and his team, and everything that comes along with that, both personally and some of the resources that we make available to you, whether that's customizable marketing materials, some of the data analysis that Mark shared earlier that we can put together for you there. So that's what we do. That's what we love doing, and we look forward to discussing those options for partnership there. Final piece here, we've talked about it a few times here. It's kind of our next event that we're looking forward to here in Austin in a couple of weeks at the NCCET National Conference. We will be hosting a deep dive breakout session on, I believe it's Thursday afternoon, going into more details about partnership opportunities. We're going to show some high-level views of the learning systems, both from a student and some of the instructor resources that we have available to you there. But also, like Mark mentioned, we would love to set up some time to connect with you folks one-on-one. So, if there is interest in discussing this further and learning a little bit more, let us know. We can arrange a time for us to meet. Like Mark said, we'd love to prepare some of the data and analysis that we can provide specific to your campus and to your region, and then bring that with us there. So I think that kind of wraps up what we have here. I know we had at least one question in the chat that we can jump into here and use to kick off, but thank you all for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Ed, were you able to view the questions that may have popped up during our time, and then maybe we can address some of those, or if anyone would like to come off mute?
Amy Chesley has been very patiently waiting to have her question answered. She asked, what kind of response are you getting from community colleges that are offering these classes? All right, and the degree to which we do have community colleges offering your programs.
Great question, and thank you, Amy. Thank you for joining us today. I would say the community colleges have been incredibly impactful with the workforce development efforts. Many of those community college, at least with the states that we're engaging with, either are parts of an entire state system, or in the case of Dallas, as well as Miami, which are two Chicago city colleges, those are the three metropolitan community colleges that we engage with currently. It's a grouping of them, so they work as one. Lots of activity around the certification programs, because community colleges represent a huge footprint with respect to that entry level type of position, and it really hits very well within that scope. I would say, again, the workforce development funding efforts, those publicly funded efforts, also flow incredibly well through the community college sector, just due to the current and, let's say, established network that those community colleges have. So it really does run the gamut, Amy, from the entry level positions all the way up to and including accredited, like John called out today. I think our most established community college partner is Fox Valley Tech, and they've gone so far as to actually embed full HLC accredited credits to our training program. So that way, actually, that particular campus leverages organizations, let's call it tuition reimbursement funds, because obviously many enterprises have to have that as a check mark to say, yes, as an employee, you receive this many thousands of dollars of benefits as an individual employee, but it has to be credited. So we've gone that deep into some of the other community college engagements. So it runs the gamut. It's to say it's pretty dynamic. So a little bit of a long-winded answer there, Amy, but hopefully that ticks the box for you.
Andy?
Sorry, nothing additional to add there. I think I clicked the answer button there, but yeah, reiterate everything that Mark says. We work almost equally as far as the direct partnerships that we have here at Holmes with community colleges, as well as state or four-year colleges.
Okay, all right. I would first of all, thank you to all of you. I would really like to thank John in particular for providing his viewpoint on what the school, what the college actually gets from this relationship. And, again, reiterate that to the people that are here listening. If you guys, we're relatively new in this relationship, and we really want to be able to take full advantage of it. We want to make sure that if our colleges want to be able to offer enhanced jobs in these areas, if they want to implement some of the programs that you guys are using that are being offered, if you'd like to be able to introduce this to some of the non-traditional populations as a way of being able to make this that much more available to all of the participating corporations that you guys are affiliated with and that you bring to the conversation. That's what we really want to be able to do. That's what we want the NCCET schools to be able to take advantage of and to benefit from. As they explained, before we would share this, even though ASCM has a long-standing, strong reputation for outstanding world-class services, before we would extend this to our member colleges, we believe that it's our responsibility to personally take a look and see just what is being offered. All right. So the NCCET certification that you see, and that is currently underway for the complete spectrum of programs that they offer, is our due diligence. It's making sure that what we're recommending to our colleges is as outstanding as we believe it is, as we'd heard. And we're here to be able to certify that, yeah, it really is. All right. So when you are engaged with these folks, we're right there beside you. The whole idea of having this webinar prior to the conference is so that not only could you get this insight, but so that we could point out the fact that you don't need to wait for the conference. You can reach out to these folks right now, all right, and begin the dialogue, begin the discussions that will result in your colleges and your student populations taking full advantage. And as you know, these conversations grow. I mean, there are other people that you're going to have to bring into the conversations, and you have the conference to be able to do that. All right, you can continue some of these conversations and discussions at the conference and make sure that you're really taking full advantage of the insight and information that is available. Okay, get off my soapbox. Are there any other questions of our guests today? Any other questions? Okay. All right. This has been recorded. We'll make that recording available to you. I see we have a group of folks. I'll make their information. I'll make the information of the attendees available to ASCM so that they can reach out just to follow up with you as well. I thank our presenters. I thank our guest, John Fries, and folks, I think that's it for today. Be safe out there. Happy New Year to all. And we will see you in Austin.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ed. Thanks,
Take
John.
care.
Thanks,
See
everyone.
you in Austin. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.